Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source for what's happening now in the world of electric cars. And what's happening now in this whole entire week is Model 3 has been getting ready to kick some butt. I'm very excited about it. I know the week has been dominated by my Model 3 news. Probably is going to stay that way next week, but there was some other pretty significant news with other brands and with Tesla. We're going to talk about that. We're going to, I'm going to read your comments. We're going to answer your questions. I already see some regulars in the chat. George from San Diego, Kirvan is also here. Vid, Varun from India, Jan. Welcome guys, thanks for joining me right from the very beginning. So we're just gonna hang out, we're gonna review what happened, but before that, if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. If you're excited and you want to know everything that's happening in this universe of electric cars that's just getting really hot this year, and next year is gonna be even better, please consider subscribing. There's a subscribe button right there and a bell notification icon. Just hit both of them so you don't miss anything, and most importantly, become a part of this community. All right, let's talk about Tesla Model 3, guys. This week has been pretty amazing. It's been up and down roller coaster for the Model 3, from the announcement in July, as you know, to getting not making enough of them in September, and some tough Q3 report, and then making more of them, less of them, is some problems with the employee, just so many different things. But the last couple of weeks has been really getting close to this. As we know, the head of Panasonic reported that bottleneck has been pretty much taken care of, at least very close to it. And most importantly, last week they were saying that they were starting to take configurations from the public. And this, I mean, just yesterday I reported that I was part of the second batch of emails, and here's my invite right here. This is for me to start configuring my Model 3 if I wanted to. Right now, I'm just going to wait because my lease doesn't expire on both of my cars until fall of the next year. That was kind of the plan all along, but it is really exciting. There's people who are saying that they're going to be getting their Model 3s next week. Private citizens, not Tesla, SpaceX employees. Looks like the VIN number is going to be in a low 2000s. That means that they're really starting to produce them, at the higher rate. And let's just talk for a second about what this really means for the world. Really, I mean, don't forget, if you're watching this, we're probably in the same bubble, right? We're in a bubble of electric cars exist, one, what they really are, how they operate, where do you charge them, and all that stuff, right? We kind of know that. Then we're also, maybe a lot of us, in a bubble of Tesla, where there is no range anxiety, there are superchargers, there are just so many amazing things that Tesla has brought us. And of course there's Chevy Bolt and now Nissan Leaf. But you have to understand that there's the sales of these cars is still only about 1% worldwide. If you go, literally, sometimes they just drive to here to Santa Cruz, California, where we have a lot of tourists, and my Model S gathers just as many people as it used to gather here in Silicon Valley many times. Back in the day, 5 years ago, people asking, oh my God, is this a Tesla? How does it work? They ask all these questions. The world is slowly finding out about something that we've known for a while. And up until now, even if they knew about Tesla, guys, I have to say, about 6 years ago, when I was putting my name on the reservation list for my Model S, when somebody suggested Tesla, I said, listen, that's a $200,000 roadster car, right? For rich people, why would I ever consider Tesla? Well, people still have that perception, rightfully so. The cars right now, currently Model S, Model X, they both start with a $70,000 sticker price. So most people in the world can afford it. This is a moot point for them. Yes, Chevy Bolt is out there. Don't forget, it's almost $40,000. Nissan Leaf has just not been a practical car, though they've sold over 100,000 units. So that's a big win for the electric car industry as well. And they were one of the first ones on the market. But now that people will start seeing this Model 3s on the road, their friends are going to start buying them. There will be more, reports on the internet and videos and on TV. They will see it in person. Their friends will give them a ride. They'll be able to see it at the dealerships, showrooms, when they walk by in the mall, and there are more and more of them as well. People will start really realizing that how amazing the electric cars are, how amazing the technology around them is, and how people just like them are now driving them. Of course, in another 1 or 2 years, we'll have them, you know, obviously being sold used for even less. I know I'm saying everything that you guys kind of know what's happening, but you have to understand most of the world does not. At most, they know that this exists. At most, they maybe even know what it looks like. But the questions that we've answered in our heads for a long time are still not answered. They don't even exist. I mean, a lot of times when I show my car and my Model S to some of the tourists in Santa Cruz, and when I travel, even here in California, and people see it, and they just, even the door handles still amuse them, because, you know, there's no other company that still kind of does that. So it is, I mean, to be honest with you, my nieces, for the first time sat in a Tesla just the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I kind of assumed that they already knew, but they didn't, and they were amused by all of this technology and things. So you guys, you have to understand that this is still happening on the outside of our bubble, and this is mind-blowing, and this is going to change the world of electric cars. Now, I'm going to the CES, Computer Electronics Show, which, I don't know if you know what it is. It's the largest consumer electronics show in the world in Las Vegas. And, you know, it used to be all about the TV sets and CDs and all the cool tech, you know, technology, cameras and all that stuff. Now there are a lot of self-driving technologies. Fisker is just about to unveil and premiere their new car. I mean, now as being a member of the press for the show, I'm getting emails, invitations to do demos, and there's all companies I've never even heard of that are going to be doing demos for the self-driving technology and stuff like that. So I have to say that this is really happening. Earlier this year, only a couple of months ago, with the Frankfurt show, LA Auto Show just finished, the Detroit show, all of a sudden, compared it to the last year, all of a sudden, all these cars are coming out with all of this electrifying fleets, commitments, budgets. So guys, this is something that I know we're just so used to, but this is still very, very exciting. And the fact that Model 3 is finally hitting the road and being available to public is a big deal. Yes, I know that car is still at $49,000 to start with. Yes, I know people are still waiting for the $35,000 version, and it's only kind of right now going to be available in California. But it will grow. It will grow very fast, and I think we'll kind of all remember this as a beginning of something we've never thought could happen only a few years ago, and it is happening now. Don't forget, you know, Nissan Leaf is just about to go on sale here in the United States, January 1st. That's a decent range car by Nissan for technically under $30,000, and we don't even know if they're going to start discounting them or not, because if they do, you know, the sticker price is already under $30,000, you know, starting price. If they're going to start discounting them, as usually Nissan does, right? You can bargain with pretty much any other dealership, then it's going to go under $30,000. You know, Chevy Bolt continues to sell well, and I know they're probably going to come up with the additions of the self-driving technology because they bought Cruise, and that's going very well. So this is going to be an interesting year. Of course, don't forget, and let me actually move on to the next story that came out of LA Auto Show, and I would say that's one of the bigger shows. Jaguar brought their I-Pace to the show. They said they have over 200 prototypes driving around the world, testing it out. They did a really cool thing, and they've invited their people who've already reserved the I-Pace on their website, and they brought those people in, some of them, and I gave them a really long ride, sometimes up to 200 miles, so they can test it out, give them their opinion. You know, they made a video out of it. It's available on their YouTube channel. So I-Pace is going to be a real competitor. I have to say, my leases expire on my both Model S's at the end of the year. I gotta tell you, I will be certainly considering I-Pace, because if I have a Model S that obviously can go long distance, and we can take day trips with my girlfriend or whatever, but then I have an I-Pace that is 200-mile range that we can drive pretty much daily anyway, then I'm definitely going to be considering, because it's a good looking car. Let me show you, right now you're seeing a video, it's still in camouflage, but we know what it's going to look like. Let me just show you a quick picture. It is going to be a beautiful car, as you can see. I absolutely love it, and even in this car, I love it. But imagine it in black with tinted windows and with tinted wheels. This is going to be an amazing car. So I'm definitely going to be considering. I think it would be crazy not to. So that's another thing happening. That's why I'm saying, with the Model 3 appealing to the mass market is going to be the key. Burn Boots in the chat says, just got my first Model S 2017 100D. Congratulations, my friend. Welcome to the community. Join the club, and I hope you're having a good time. I'm surprised you're watching this right now. I'll be just driving around the the block like I did on my first day with a Model S. I just drove wherever I needed to drive to, man. It was insane. So congratulations on your brand new Model S 100D. That's a very fast car now with all of the updates. So congratulations to you. Mr. Marcarico, 3 in the chat room from Portugal. Mitchell from San Francisco. Liberty Verde and Austin, Texas. John in Florida. A lot of people are watching, guys. Thanks for joining me. This is always fun on Sundays as we hang out live. Greg on the show says, CES, not everyone can go. You have to have a sponsor or get a ticket from someone in the industry. No one can buy them, only if one knows somebody. So, I mean, that's true. I'm actually going as a member of a press, so we're going to be there for 2 press days, I guess they're called, 2 days prior of the start, and I'll stay for the first 2 days, and that's where I'm going to be able to stream live for you guys. So I'm not going to stream my regular 11 a.m. streams during those 4 days. I will probably stream a couple of times during the day, depending on what's happening. If I see something cool happening, if there's a demo going on, I will stream for you guys, so you can kind of be there with me. And after that, I will of course bring a lot of pre-recorded footage, some interviews that I'm going to edit and share with you guys. So you don't really have to go. You don't have to. You know me. If you have to know somebody, you guys know me, and I will definitely bring you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Fisker unveiling their car, of course, because it is a big deal. Steve Ryder says January through March is when his Model 3 configuration is due. Steve, let us know, what are you going to configure it as far as, are you going to configure it at the current $49,000 dollar configuration, or if you're going to go with something different for your Model 3? I'm still kind of torn. I think I do want to go with a $35,000 version, simply because, well, I'll add a premium package, but I like the black color. I was going to go with it anyway, so I'm not going to upgrade. The wheels I'm not going to upgrade because I usually tint them aftermarket along with the windows. And I think I'll just get a premium package. Me and my girlfriend were talking over a dinner last night, and I don't even think I want autopilot at this point, because I don't really use it on either one of our cars except for self-parking. So I don't really know. I don't really know if I'm going to actually go and go with an autopilot package. So that's going to be my configuration. Steve Wright in the chat room says, Model X with fold flat bench seats. Would I-Pace have it? You know what? I don't really know. And I know it's important to a lot of people who serve or go camping and stuff like that. I can't imagine they wouldn't. I think if you remember, guys, originally Model X did not have it, and I think they've added it as an option later. So the I-Pace, I would expect them to have it from the get-go, but I don't know. If I was to get it, it probably wouldn't be for like camping and stuff like that. I would get it to have another experience with a brand that I've experienced before. I like Jaguar. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. By the way, as a reminder, guys, this video on this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. I myself was a customer. I'm actually I got a couple of things. I got a car cover and a trunk organizer, which I just taped the video for. I will share it with you guys in the next week or so. So thank you, Evanex, for sponsoring. Let me move on to the next topic. Let me just go back into the chat. Kirivan says, as a Volt owner, I'm very much liking the Volkswagen Cross with the 2 Z's. Yeah, I have to say it looks really good. I don't think it's going to be available by the end of this year. I believe that the other one of the cars from their ID lineup might be available, but I don't think Cross is going to be available for at least a couple of years. But it does look good in and out, so I'm with you on that one. Mitchell in the chat room says, I used to go to the CES. All I needed to register was a business card to show the show was free. I don't know if it works that way anymore. I believe there's always a fee to get in. I think it's just a matter of if you're coming in as a part of the industry, or if you're just kind of people, just regular common folk, if you will, just want to come in and look at the new technology. But the other thing I gotta say, Las Vegas just became so much more expensive. It's almost not so much about the tickets or for the show. It's about the flight. It's about the hotel room. This is one of the biggest conferences in Las Vegas, so all of the hotels are like booked. The prices are double or triple, so it's expensive just to travel there. I was lucky to book a hotel early, and again, I'm lucky to have well, I shouldn't say lucky, I have a press pass, so I don't really have to pay. But this is going to be a lot of work, and if you have a chance to visit, obviously do. But you know, unless you have a certain need like I do, because I want to bring this to you guys, it may just not be worth it for the money you have to pay. Steve in the chat room says his configuration is going to be $49,000 package, what they're selling right now already, white stock wheels plus autopilot active, which I believe is not included in 49,000, right? You're going to have to pay extra, but basically you're getting everything. You're pretty much getting everything. And if you're getting white, that means you're paying an extra $1,000 as well. Alexandro Alex says hi from Belgium. How are you? Paul in the chat room says, when I get my Model 3, I'm considering having a clear wrap. Anyone know if it works and helps protect the paint job? So there's, you know, I mean, I'm not 100% expert on this, I have to say. I've had a Opti coat on my black car. They had problems with it. I had to redo it twice, and I have to say that I probably wouldn't have done it if I knew. Even if there was no problem, I probably wouldn't have done an Opti coat, because I just don't see that much of a difference, because the whole thing was that you don't have to wash it as often. It goes back to the original paint type of a thing. Besides the fact that it's a brand new car, it's a lease, and it kind of goes back to the original paint, you know, pretty quickly. I just didn't see the need, and that was $800 wasted. Yes, I know there are clear protection for the entire car. Of course, it will protect from scratches. Not sure about dings. You can still get a pretty good ding if, you know, a stone or another car's door hits it. So I don't think you're protected against that, but obviously you will have the protection. The only thing is I can't imagine that film not getting the paint a little more dull, right? It's just, I don't see it being as shiny as maybe reflective as you otherwise would. It would be probably more matte, and if you're okay with that, then that's probably not a good, not a bad idea. But I would think twice before doing that. Again, especially if you're leasing it or thinking about keeping it only for a few years, I think you might be just fine without it, but of course it's your choice. Paul in the chat room says, okay, I just read that. Mitchell in the chat room says traffic aware cruise control is standard on the Model 3. Good question. No, I don't think so. I think traffic aware cruise control is part of autopilot, I believe. So that you would have to get an autopilot hardware in the software activated. So if I understood your question, that's what we're talking about. Mitchell says, I slept on my friend's couch in Las Vegas. That's one of the ways to get there and to stay there for free. You probably have to do laundry and wash the dishes, right? And pay for the beer, I'm assuming. So, but it's hey, you know, you do what you got to do. You don't have to stay on a strip, right? You can stay a few miles away, and those hotels are not as expensive, but then you got to pay for Uber or taxi. Technocatos from the chat room says, hello from Puerto Rico. Hello, how are you? Solar 100% since Hurricane Maria. Congratulations on that. I hope you guys are doing okay there. With enough excess production for 100 miles every day in the upcoming Model 3. Seems like you figured it out, and I think that's a great you know, obviously a horrible disaster, but if something good comes out of it, like, you know, being a solar and just showing the world that you can be self-sustaining island, really, that would be something. And obviously Tesla is there on location with their power packs. So I'm really excited. I'm glad you're okay, of course, and I hope people follow your example. U2 Neopati in the chat room. I'm sorry guys if I'm mispronouncing the names. Chinese company will destroy US and Europe electric car. That's a pretty bold statement, though I have to say a lot of Chinese companies invest in American and European companies. So I don't really see this as China versus US or Europe. I think this is going to be very much a joint venture. I know here with our current administration, we're not as going to be as advanced maybe in the next 3 or 4 years as far as the rest of the world is concerned, in China as far as green energy is concerned. But, you know, we are still trying, especially here in California. I think this is going to be a together effort. I don't want to pin this one brand against another or one country against another. I really do think that we're a pretty small community still, and we got to stick together rather to start inner fighting or competition. Competition is good, but, you know, to a point, especially in a smaller one. Dimac says hello from Zagreb, Croatia. It's unbelievable that so many people are watching from Europe. Well, yes and no, right? Europe is much more advanced as far as electric cars are concerned, which kind of brings me to the story I was just about to cover. So BMW, as you know, BMW and Mercedes and a couple of other companies already invested in this project, Ionic, and it's a fast charging network that's they're targeting 400 superchargers, sort of, fast charging stations in Europe by the end of 2020. Well, now BMW got themselves also involved, I believe, with Porsche and Siemens, I believe. Could be wrong on that, but they're invested into a project, I believe it's called Fast Charge, and this is where they're going to be researching just how fast can you charge a car within the reality, because obviously you can't just pump a lot of electricity at a high voltage really quick, because, you know, you will melt stuff. I mean, there's still physics laws still exist regardless of, you know, Elon Musk, Tesla, whatever you want to, regardless of what we can do with technology. So they're researching that, and they're going to see what's possible, what's not possible. So that's another way how BMW and other manufacturers are now kind of realizing they gotta push themselves into creating something that will compete with Tesla, which of course will involve this supercharger network and fast charging network in Europe. And this is just for Europe. Dan Kane in chat room says, what are the main reasons you are supporting the electric car movement? Well, it started with one thing, and it kind of went in many different directions. And so at first I thought that, wouldn't it be nice if our country, United States, and many countries around the world would not have to depend on oil? Because it sounds to me, and I don't care where you're in the spectrum of politics, okay? I don't talk politics here, but the bottom line, it sounds like we fight a lot of wars in the areas where we have oil interests. So, you know, I think that the world will be a more peaceful place, and I feel like our generation, my generation, I'm 40 years old, that hasn't done that much for the world. This could be our contribution in making the world a more peaceful place. If we don't have to come to Middle East and without politics, and I think we can make it a much more peaceful place. Less people will die, less Americans, Europeans, and Middle Eastern people will die if we just move on from oil. That was number one thing. I just thought it was a commitment to peace. Number two, obviously, I care about the environment. I mean, there are different views of global warming or climate change, however you want to call it. I have to say there's still some things that don't add up in my head about the climate change, but it's obvious that we're contributing to our own death at some point, because, you know, look at the cities like Los Angeles, look at the cities like, major cities in China, where you can't really see the air sometimes, because, I mean, you can see the air, you just can't see another person standing across the street from you because the pollution is so bad. So contribution to that, I believe, is also very important. So that was number two. Number three, I wanted to, I'm a guy and I love cars all my life, and I realized that I'm just stopped being interested in cars, even though I had the money to spend. You know, I tried BMW 7 Series, I tried the Lexus LS, you know, whatever the version they had. I tried the Mercedes S-Class. I even, I tried the Rolls-Royce and so many cars, and I realized that they're just no longer exciting. They don't, the technology in almost every single brand new BMW or Mercedes or Lexus is something that's been around for at least 10 years. I'm no longer excited. They're no longer on the cutting edge of the technology. I wanted to support electric cars because they're bringing a new technology into, especially Tesla, into the world. And I'm once again, as just a guy, excited about talking about electric cars, driving electric cars, just seeing them on the road, seeing what's happening, what new technologies are bringing. Look how far we've gone just in the last 5 years in the technology of the cars, and then compare it to the last 20 years. I mean, it's just 100 times fold that we've sort of advanced because the cars are electric. So that's another reason why I support electric cars. I just want the technology to move forward and the automotive industry to catch up to what we can do, right? We can put an iPad in the middle of our dashboard and have a touch screen. Why are the companies been going away? You know, Lexus was one of the last companies to have the touch screen, and they followed the suit from BMW and Mercedes to have those joysticks. That's just not a natural interaction with, I mean, I'm a UX designer by trade. That's my day job. Joystick is not a natural interaction for human beings with a visual plane. It's just not. So I was really upset that we're going away from the touchscreen. And guess what? Now we're back. So it's many reasons why I like the electric cars. Again, peace in the world peace. I hate to sound like a beauty queen, you know. Peace, world peace. Number two is environment. No matter how you look at it, I think it's helpful. Number three, technology. You know, and number four, I have to say that I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. I mean, Elon Musk is sort of a personal hero of mine, if you will. He, you know, I mean, I know I criticized him a lot here in on this channel because that's my job here. But the bottom line is, especially if you look at his biography, especially look what he's been doing and still doing, it is absolutely unbelievable. It's because of people like him this world goes around and the progress is possible. It's definitely not because of cars like BMW or General Electric that just kind of traditional companies that don't want to innovate. It's because of Elon Musk and people like him. You know, sort of a Steve Jobs of the world. Love him or hate him personally. Think about it. The guy sold his share of PayPal. He was one of the major shareholders there, and he never had to work in his life. He could have had an amazing lifestyle, money, women, drugs, whatever the hell he was into. He could have just spent an amazing life for the rest of his life, and instead he chose to change the world. And not just in one direction, right? We're talking about electric cars, but we're also talking about all types of travel, including space travel, including travel in tunnels, right? The solar energy, right? I mean, solar batteries, solar panels were out there even before Elon Musk, right? But nobody said, hey, you know, that looks freaking ugly. How about we make a roof out of it so it looks better than the regular roof, lasts longer, and empowers the house? You know, and this is why I'm excited. This is why it's so easy to go live every day on this channel as I do daily and talk about all of this news, because there's always news. It's always exciting, and I can always talk about it with people like you guys who are just excited about it. And you know, that's why I support the electric cars. I hope I answered your question. Sylvain Oz from France, how are you, my friend? I'm hoping to visit once again someday. Let's see. Varuna in chat room says everyone interested in 17,000 US dollars sedan with 75. Are you guys selling cars? Oh, in my live chat. Shame. Mr. Carico 3 says BMW testing a prototype in Portugal with Bosch and AI technology prototype instead of in Sade Plant Park. Yes, actually Bosch has been a big they're kind of behind the scenes, right? I did a UX research with them a while back where they've kind of picked our brains of people who have autopilot and who are into self-driving cars and own one, is when they were trying to develop the technology. So that was actually interesting interview, and I know I've been really trying really hard and pretty successfully so to promote the technology. And BMW, at least if they're not innovating, which they're not, at least they're trying to go to innovators and license that technology, which is just the second best thing, but nevertheless. All right, Robans ZZ in the chat room says oil wars cost us trillions that could be better spent on developing renewable energy, and of course not to mention all the oil leaks we've had over the years. Actually, that's one thing that I've mentioned as well, right? Environment, it's not just the pollution, right? It's about when the oil pipe bursts and we just poison part of our ocean, which happens very regularly, and kill all the wildlife on the coast, and we can never clean it up. Just because it's not in the news, guys, anymore, it doesn't mean that oil from all this oil spills is no longer there. It doesn't mean that those coasts just all of a sudden have the life come back and bloom there. No, they're still polluted. It's still there, and animals are still dying. We're still poisoning our oceans. That's another reason not to. I mean, think about it, guys. let me just present it this way. You know, we are in 2017. And in the last 100 years, we've learned to do a lot of amazing things, right? We can split atoms. We can fight a lot of diseases. We can alter DNA where, you know, in a baby, where that baby may not have a disease when it's born. We can make the boobs look bigger and the butts look smaller. We can, you know, launch, you know, rockets to Mars. We can do a lot of amazing things. But one thing that I think we should still be pretty much embarrassed of is that our cars that we use in daily lives are still powered by this goo, disgusting goo that comes out of the ground, mainly in places that don't even like us, and then we have to blow it up under the hoods of our own cars, you know, 1,000 times so it can move, and then throw all of the, you know, disgusting gases that we can't breathe back into our faces. Are we not embarrassed? Are we not embarrassed by what we can do? Obviously, we can do a lot of amazing things, but we decided on this one, we're going to sit this one out. So no more. No more. The revolution is starting, and I think this is why it is exciting. Let's see. What's in the new Roadster and Semi? I wonder battery-wise, says Amulia. Amulia in the chat room. I don't know. Only Tesla knows right now. It looks like more and more experts are chiming in, and they're saying that the Semi and the Roadster has to have some sort of battery breakthrough in order to achieve the numbers that they're claiming. Other people saying that they pretty much maybe just reached a new levels of efficiency. It's probably a little bit of both, but obviously battery breakthrough is not out of the question because Tesla hasn't really upgraded their battery technology in the last 5 years. You know, we started with 85 kilowatt hour Tesla Model S, and now we have 100 kilowatt hour Tesla Model S. That's not much of a progress, right? About what, 20%? So I think they are definitely due for a major breakthrough, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I think that's what inside there, but we really don't know. Obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously, but it looks like that the solid-state batteries and supercapacitors is something that will probably follow because it looks like it's just a better technology, but we're not there yet. As you know, Fisker has a patented a technology that they're saying is going to be 500-mile range, and you can charge it in under a minute. But we'll see what happens. Dan in the chat room says, what do you design for work? I design user interfaces, web user interfaces. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's now called UX design, where it's sort of like you design user interface based on what your target audience is, not just whatever you think is pretty, but it actually requires some market research and user experience research, and I love it. Which, by the way, reminds me, you guys, I've per a lot of your requests a couple of weeks ago, I've opened a Patreon page, and it's not only a way for those of you guys who want to support my channel. It's also a way for me to kind of give you back some exclusive footage. Last week, for example, I had a footage of me visiting the new headquarters of Lucid Motors and finding out something that they didn't tell us. So I caught that footage and I've compared it to their footage, and there was some interesting discrepancies. This week, I'm going to be talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on, especially when I fly my drones. You know, you guys see a lot of drone footage like this one. I had, and you've seen it in my video where I had a report about the superchargers. But when this footage stopped on your screens, stuff happens. In this case, as you can see in just 1 second, I accidentally flew my drone into a palm tree. So that's something that I haven't shared, but it's something I'm only going to share with my Patreons. What happens next? Well, what happens next is you can go to patreon.com/E4Electric. If you want to become a contributor, I would really appreciate it. But this is where you can see this footage of me crashing my drone and just talking about you know, how I learned how to fly drones and some other cool footage that you've seen in my other videos, because the drone footage is amazing. So that's the kind of behind the scene video I'm providing for my Patreons. But once again, thank you so much for supporting this channel, because it is not cheap to produce, I have to say. Anyway, so thank you so much for those who are supporting me there. Let me move on to another pretty exciting news. Keys in the chat room says hello from Sweden. Tony, of course, from Minneapolis. Tony is probably one of the most regulars in this chat, in the comment section of almost every single video, and he is one of the Patreons, so hopefully he'll tell you guys whether or not it's worth being a Patreon and seeing some of the extra exclusive footage and some of the behind the scenes footage. I'm going on vacation actually in Mexico on a cruise ship because I'm old, but I'm gonna shoot some footage there in Mexico and see if I see any electric cars, and maybe talk to some of the locals and see what their views outside of our bubble in the real world are on electric cars, if they ever heard of it, if they've ever seen one. So we'll see that, and maybe some of the behind the scenes footage of me relaxing on the cruise ship. All right, let's move on to the next story. Of course, here in California, it looks like we're going to have a proposed bill just for the state to ban the sales of gas cars. I know I said electric cars like 3 times in my previous video, and I'll probably do it again, but gas cars. It's a little disappointing because it's being proposed for 2040, and I think like even for us here in California, that's more than enough time. I would prefer 2030 because we are still like over a decade away, and we already have all these laws that are supporting green energy and electric cars here in California. But nevertheless, Phil Tang is the assembly member who is proposing it. If you've been following California politics, you know that's the same assemblyman who has also proposed to increase the rebates for the electric car buyers, but that kind of stalled and hasn't been proposed. I don't know if he's bringing it back or not. I've reached out to his office. I'm already in conversation with them, so maybe we'll have a word with them. Maybe they'll just give us a statement. So we'll see what happens there. But this is exciting news because, as you know, guys, America, US, the Trump administration decided to pull out of the Paris Agreement, where the rest of the world kind of stayed. But a lot of our cities, and those of you guys who are watching in Europe, just so you know, a lot of our cities in a lot of our states have decided that even though we're no longer part of the agreement, we're going to do our part like if we were still part of the agreement. So California is one of those states where basically committing to staying within the requirements, within the borders of that agreement, which is really not that, I think, difficult. So it's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be proposed in January, so it's going to be, we don't know. It's definitely far from being even being voted on. But this is exciting because I think this is the first time a state has actually decided to move forward with it. I think it's a little bit long overdue because a few European countries already have it going on, and China's got it going on. So I think it's just a natural thing for us to do as well. So that's another interesting development that happened this week, which could be just as big as Model 3 news, because overall long-term impact if this passes, and a lot of times other states follow here in the United States what we do here in California because we're a little bit more progressive that way. That can affect a lot, obviously, when we are talking about something that's going to be happening in the rest of the country here. Let's see. Q-Tip Shark continuing the conversations about the environment and how oceans collect things, which is true. Let's see. More. You guys are just talking about amongst yourself. Okay, Steve Ryder in the chat room says no one will want to buy an ICE car in 2040. A lot of comments about this were right on the money, and I think it was also comment of the day a couple of days ago, is because you're right. I think this ban may just be a moot point because electric cars are becoming so much better. And this is why I'm getting Model 3 on the road is so important, because it's going to be having a bigger access and access to people who can actually afford it. These cars are just going to be so much better. People just won't want to buy a gas car. Think about it, like when CDs, right, came on the market, people stopped buying cassettes, right? And nobody banned cassette players and cassettes from being sold. People decided that CDs are better, right? Just like now iPods and iPhones and whatever else you play your music on are better than CDs. So this is going to be a natural progression, and by the time those laws actually kick in, there may not be any need to ban this. So I think a lot of you guys, when you made that comment, was absolutely correct. Varun in the chat room says India is planning to ban new sales of gas cars by 2030. See, even India is ahead of us, and you guys are still waiting for your Teslas, right? So this is, I'm a little disappointed California is proposing 2040. Hopefully they'll tighten it up and we'll end up with 2030, which I think is relatively reasonable. Saga Photo says Germany doesn't ban the sales, but we do not buy that stinking combustion cars in 10 years anymore. Yeah, Germany is a bit tough country. Obviously, you guys, I just did a story where Germany kind of tried to squeeze Tesla out of the picture by taking the incentive, putting a cap on incentives that they're providing for those who buy electric cars at $60,000. Tesla tried to come up with a car that was under $60,000. Germany banned them anyway, saying that they're kind of lying. They're sending emails out to people saying, well, you can't really configure it that way. It's still in the middle of that stuff, but obviously Germany is home to BMW and Mercedes and a lot of other manufacturers that are kind of sticking with gas engines for now. So it's a natural sort of a fight there. I don't expect them to come up with one of these laws anytime soon, but I think they might still anyway. Greg Shaw in chat room says Elon Musk all the way should have been man of the year. I agree. I think he should have been man of the year almost every other year so far since he started production of Model S. And I'm okay with him not getting credit. Who cares? The credit that he's getting is people buying his cars. The credit that he's getting is, other car makers who've been making the same crap over and over again, now having to completely reinvent their own businesses. I think that's the credit that he wants. Really, guys, watch a documentary of Elon Musk. It's really amazing. It's amazing how far he came, how many times he came towards to like complete failure, how many times he almost went belly up, and how many times he came back and tried over and over again until it actually worked. Even with their SpaceX rockets, how many times they've blown up, how many times people say, well, he can't do it, it's impossible. And finally one landed, and second one, and now he kind of perfected landing rockets vertically on a tiny little platform, which is insane. If you think about it, it's insane. Do you know how we've been landing our rockets before this? Yeah, I mean, I'd vote for him as a man of the year, of the men of the century, even at this point, and the century just started. Broman says most car companies said they're going to stop investing in new engine tech, which is true. I believe Volvo is on the sort of front lines with that. Well, Tesla's on the front lines, but Volvo is second because they're going to be electrifying their fleet by 2020, I believe. Tony in the chat room says gas vehicles are on notice and will be gradually ushered out as we near 2030 and 2040. And this is why I believe the Model 3 being on the road, being sold to the public, is the beginning of that revolution. Cannot disagree there. Steve Ryder in the chat room says it will be interesting to see what happens to the gasoline stations in the future. Shell in Great Britain is starting to install electric car charging infrastructure with 3 different standards. Well, you know what? That's kind of funny because this brings me to the video I showed earlier in the week. This came from one of the viewers, Helmuth P is his username. He sent me video, and this is going to be a recurring segment, guys. If you see something worth putting on the show here, send me the footage, and if it's newsworthy, we'll definitely put it up. But you're watching a video that he taped at the Orlando, Florida. As you can see, there's a gas station that has superchargers built on what looks like their property, we're literally taking their territory. Like, we're literally landing and taking their territory. And I think this, to answer your question, who was this? Steve Ryder in the chat room. To answer your question, Steve, I think this is what's going to be happening in the future with Shell and Chevron and so forth. Shell has already, as you mentioned it in Europe, introduced charging stations in their gas stations. And I think I know Shell also invested in a project that where they're going to be putting out the charging station network in Europe. So I think that's where it's going, and I think it's reasonable. They are an energy company. This is just a new age of energy. So that makes sense, and I think that's exactly what you're watching right now on the screen. And again, thank you, Helmuth, for sending that and for letting me know This is exactly what's going to happen. All right, just another reminder about, you know, Avanex sponsoring this channel and this video. Once again, thank you so much to you guys for that. Let me move. Let's see. Q-Tip Shark says, I think a 5-minute charging in the next 5 years would be the main objective. I agree with you. I think the range, we're pretty much at the point where range is getting to be acceptable. Any car with 200 miles, I think with the range is acceptable most of the time. If your other car is either a Tesla with a long range or a gas car and you can take a trip in it, you know, having a 200-mile range car is acceptable. I think it is all about the infrastructure now. I think it's about how, and technology, how fast you can charge your car when you're on the road and where you're going to be able to do it. And this is why Tesla's main advantage, I don't even think it's the car right now. I think it's the supercharger network that's really that far ahead. And don't forget, mega charger network is coming up. I mean, let's not forget about that. That's coming. You know, one story that I kind of skipped over, but I should definitely mention is Direct Line is a British company that is now offering a 5% discount to those people who use autopilot in their Teslas. I know it's just in Great Britain. I know it's just 5% because, you know, it may not even matter if their rates are overall more expensive in Great Britain. Those of you guys who are watching from the UK, let me know if that's the case. But I think what's more important is that autonomous driving is going to be the next thing, if you will, kind of on top of electric cars, is what's going to be brought to us in the next 10 years. We may not even be doing this driving. You know, transportation is going to be a second, an afterthought, really. It's just we're going to be doing something else as we are being driven in these cars back and forth. And the fact that now insurance companies are realizing, I think there's another insurance company in the United States, it's a startup, I believe it's called Root Insurance, that was also offering discounts to those who have autopilot. But just overall, that even insurance companies realize that you know, computers are better drivers than people at this point, and is only going to get better. I think that's another real revolution that's starting on top of this whole electric car revolution. Let's see. Tesla P85D, one of the regulars in the chat room, says, Germans like Tesla. Always when I take a trip to Germany from Lithuania, I'm getting trumped up. I don't know if pun intended. It's just politics and media in Germany doesn't like it. Well, I mean, I think there's truth to both, right? I mean, I think Germany is a very progressive country, and I think people there do see and get excited about new technologies. On the other hand, you know, people are proud of what their country has accomplished, right? And BMW and Mercedes and other, you know, big manufacturer, car manufacturers, is something that they're proud of. This is, you know, their country's achievements and their country's pride, just like we're proud of Apple, right? And other American-based companies that bring really good products to the world. So I understand the pride, and I understand a natural desire to protect that industry, whether from personal point of view or the political point of view. So I'm not really surprised. I'm not saying Germans hate Tesla. I'm just saying it's just going to be a little bit tougher because that is the base of, you know, European electric cars. I mean, sorry, electric European gas car technology. So I'm not surprised that it might be a little bit slow in Germany, but yeah, I'm sure Germans don't mind Teslas at the very least. Kirvan in the chat room says, it took 3 weeks for me to get used to plugging in my car. Adapting is part of change owning into electric vehicles. Well, that's interesting. It's actually taken me about 2 minutes to get used to charging, because the best thing about charging your car every day is not being at the gas station. You know, that thing I got used to like that, really. You know, I had to visit a gas station when I rented a gas car like another day, and I was like, oh man, I have a t-shirt with a cool slogan coming up in a bit. I'll wear it on the show once it's ready, and you guys, I'll have it up for purchase just in case if you want to own one as well. But yeah, and you know, and plugging in the car is so fast, boom, boom, you know, plug it in and then you take it out in the morning. I got used to it really quick. But let me know what your challenges were. Maybe I'm missing something in your statement. Q-Tip Shark, I think he's talking about the Tesla interior. He says, I like the minimal interiors, but somewhat agree. Okay, I guess you guys talking about it, about the luxury part of the interior of Tesla. A lot of people saying that it's not as luxurious as others that they used to, like a Mercedes would be the one of them. And I think this is why Lucid Air, if they ever make it on the market, Lucid Air will do well because of their pretty luxurious interior. Oh, here I do have a picture of Lucid Air. You know, if you look for a Lucid Air keyword on my channel, you'll see that I have been doing videos about them and had an in-person experience with the car, and I really like it. I would definitely consider it if it ever makes it on the market. So it is true. Bromance in the chat room says, asks, do you think Ionity will come to the USA? I don't know why not. So for those of you guys who are, let me catch up with you on this. So Ionity is a charging network that is being invested by 5 companies, and I might get some of them wrong, but I think it's BMW, Mercedes, Ford, Volkswagen, and oh no, that's right, 4 companies, because 5 companies is because Volkswagen is also Porsche, Audi, right? Okay, so they've kind of partnered up to create this supercharging type of a network in Europe. They're targeting 50 fast charging stations by the end of this year, 100 by the end of next year, and then 400 by the end of 2020. That's not a bad goal. I mean, that's actually pretty a good number. Europe is not as big as United States, so you don't need to cover as much territory. I don't know why they wouldn't come to the United States. I think it's just a matter of investment. I think also a proof of concept. If those stations started doing really well and bringing them money, because it is about money, right? I think if once they start doing really well, those companies will expand in the United States and adopt it to here. But also don't forget, we don't have, I really feel that the interest in electric cars is larger in Europe than in the United States. I know I'm in California here, so we kind of feel like we're in Europe. But if you just browse through United States, the interest in electric cars is just not as high, I think, as in Europe. I think overall Europe is a little bit more progressive community as far as adopting new technologies, just even with their government regulations, right? So no, I'm not knocking down, you know, United States here. It just happened that way, just like with cell phones. Cell phones, portable communication has been adopted in Europe years before we adopted it here in the United States with the help of iPhone from Apple, right? So that's just how it is. Yeah, so I think the interest needs to be high, and also we don't have that many cars right now, except for, well, Tesla is not even going to work with their connectors. The level 3 connectors, I believe they're only in Chevy Bolt right now and in Nissan Leaf, and those are the only 2 cars that I really am willing to talk about, because if you're talking about network for long distance trips, those are the only cars are going to be able to make it for now, besides Tesla, of course. Q-Tip Shark says, I think the future of interior design is a target as the people love a nice interior. I do believe Tesla will probably have to get up to speed and with the program. I can see them trying to kind of pimp it up a little bit in the next interior. I have to say, I see more and more people asking me this question. Asking the question in my Facebook Tesla Model S Owners Club group. This question does come up. When is the interior going to be refreshed? And by refreshed, I'm assuming people mean become a little bit more luxurious. And I don't know the answer, but I'm hoping soon. All right. Just watching. That's the username. Perfect username for YouTube, you know, and welcome to the chat. I haven't seen you here before. He says, or she says, I think Tesla needs desperately to put in a cheap LiDAR module in the car for autonomous driving. I think in terms of data reliability, it's just necessary in order to validate it. I think they're set as far as their hardware is concerned for self-autonomous driving. I think they made it very clear with their 2.0 and now 2.5 hardware is that whatever they have right now is going to be pretty much moving forward, is what this set of hardware they're going to go with. It sounds like it's working fine. I mean, it's just a matter of software. I don't think hardware is where they're lacking, but just watching, I don't think it's up for debate right now. Technocado in the chat room says, charging time, sweet spot on the road, same time for filling up for best in class with gas, 10 minutes for 250 miles. I agree. I mean, I think 5 minutes would be perfect because, you know, sometimes you stay in line at the gas station. Maybe there's a car in front of you. Sometimes you go to the bathroom. Sometimes you have to go and pay inside. So overall, at the gas station, you spend 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. So I think if we can get 5 minute charge for 200 miles or 300 miles, I think that's a sweet spot. It does look that that technology is going to be available in the next 2 years because so many people are chasing it. And I think, you know, Tesla might just be the one who's going to create a breakthrough there. So yeah, I think it's very realistic, and I agree with you. 10 minutes, but I would probably shoot for 5, but 10 minutes is good enough. Donovan Small in the chat room says Germany has no choice but to chance when it comes to their ICE cars. Don't know what that means. Maybe you can clarify it. Sorry. Vid in the chat room says I have a T-shirt where the child on picture asks, "Dad, what is gasoline?" That's actually a pretty good one. Yeah, I've been thinking about different types of T-shirts that I wanted to make and put it out for sale, but also mainly so I can wear it for these live feeds. I'm gonna start wearing them in about a week or two. I'm still designing them, but there's some clever ones I think that you guys will get a kick out of. Sorry guys, I'm getting over a cold a little bit here. That's why my voice sounds a little sexier today. Tong Hong in the chat room saw, "Stop the madness. Environment is more than just the air you breathe." I mean, that's exactly right. Air is kind of important, I have to say. I like it, and I like it clean, but obviously ocean and in the animals and plants and everything, everything's connected. So, you know, you take one chain out of that complicated system and you can have it crash, you know, like for example here in California we've been having problems with bees, right? And at first, like, who cares about bees? Well, bees are pollinating our, you know, plants, and I don't mean like flowers in our gardens. We have a huge farming industry here who's feeding like the entire state and other states. And if we don't have bees, we don't have any of that. We don't have food. So yeah, I mean, environment is definitely more than the air. So you're completely correct. Donovan Small says Audi, Mercedes, and BMW sales are falling, especially in the luxury category. I believe, I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but I believe that a Model S is right now outselling BMW 7 Series, Mercedes S-Class, and I think Audi A8, I think, like combined, something like crazy. And I'm not surprised. Just a better car, and I think it's going to continue. I don't know as far as the rest of their sales. I'm not sure why BMW 3 Series sales would be falling. It's still a very much in demand. So I think that they might just be fine there. By the way, just if you guys are just coming in, just wanted to mention that I do have a Patreon page now, and it has a lot of behind the scene footage, and I'm going to continue putting it up. It has some footage about Lucid Air new campus. Basically, this is just kind of an exclusive report, and I already posted it today, but basically today is the day when I'm posting my drone crash footage. As you can see this video, you've seen it in my other video about the supercharging station, but in a second you'll see after that I crashed my drone. I'll tell you, I'll show you the footage, what happens right after this moment, and also what happened afterwards, and just about safety drones and how to fly them and stuff like that. So thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. The link is down below in the description of this video. All right, what else I haven't talked about it? Oh yeah, here's another story that we haven't talked about yet. And I have a t-shirt with this very same design. Missouri was one of the states that was fighting Tesla for, you know, trying to ban their sales, and Tesla has finally won. Tesla officially can sell cars there now without any challenges. You know, I myself already admitted to this. I don't quite understand the legal sort of implications of this. Why that law that was technically there to protect the consumers, right? The law was there because they believe that if manufacturers selling directly to the consumers, it would be a worse experience for consumers. How Tesla was able to go around that law, or how they were able to prove it that it's not applicable to them, I don't know details. If one of you guys are attorneys and can help me out and explain it to everybody, I would really appreciate it, but I can't. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't really quite still understand after reading all these articles But the bottom line is, in Missouri, yet another state where Tesla can now legally, how about that, sell their cars. As they've been doing it, it's just there's no more challenges to it anymore. Oh yeah, the Daimler story. Steve Ryder in the chat room reminded me about this story. I didn't want to cover it at first. Not so much I didn't want to cover it. I just couldn't understand it. It was so bizarre. So guys, just in case if you didn't know, so here's the story. I have no comment about this because it's so bizarre. So Daimler, the company that owns Mercedes-Benz, rented a Model X in Europe from a family that owns like 3 Model X's or just 3 Teslas, and they rent them out. Rented it for 7 weeks. Went crazy on it. You know, drove it really hard on their test tracks and their headquarters, took it apart, you know, took some of the parts apart, put it back together really sloppily. Some of the stuff was taped. When they returned it, it was so obvious that they started checking the logs and seeing where the car's been. And it was, those guys, Daimler didn't even turn the app accessibility off so they could see where the car was. And then on top of that, when they were parked on their own campus, I guess they parked that car illegally, there was still a note from their security people in the glove box saying, hey, you parked illegally, please move this car. You know, so they found all this, they go back saying, what are you guys doing? But, and you know, they're suing each other, I guess, right now. But the fact is that the Daimler, multi-billion company that's trying to compete with Tesla, instead of buying the damn thing like everybody else does, I mean, this is pretty normal, that the company would buy a brand new car from another competitor and take it apart to see what's inside, what the new technology is all about. But the fact that they've rented it, they didn't want to like spend the money on getting it, and instead of they rented it. And let me know in your comments in the chat room right now if you're watching the replay, what do you guys think about it? But I have no freaking clue what to think about it. This is absolutely ridiculous and such great publicity for Tesla and such crappy publicity for Mercedes. Excuse me for a second while I'm gathering myself up, but you let me know in the chat room what the hell you guys think of this. All right, hydrated now. Let's see. Mario in the chat room says, please stop talking about revolution. It's an evolution. All right, I'll go with that. So I stand corrected. I stand corrected. Clark Kent in the chat room says, I'm excited for when I get to configure my Model 3 next year, hopefully by April. Clark and everybody else, feel free to let us know what your configuration and what your choice of color is going to be. I'm just curious. It's just always interesting to know. Kirvan in the chat room says, even with Fisker's 1-minute charge for solid-state batteries, it's not worth for the price of an even expensive EVSE at home, unless it's for traveling away. 10 minutes for 250 miles is great. Well, listen, let's not be ahead of ourselves, right? They just patented that there. You know, they just got a patent. I think they just actually filed for patent. But let's see if they can get it done. Maybe someone else will get it done better, faster, and cheaper. And then we'll talk, right? Because, you know, if I believe they're targeting 2023, which is, I believe, if my math is not incorrect, but it's like more than 5 years away. Lots of crap can happen by then. So I'm excited about Fisker reaching this milestone. I don't know if I have a Fisker. No, I don't have a picture, but I'm excited for them, but let's see if they can actually get it done. Clark Kent says, aloha, Alex. I enjoy watching all of your videos here near Travis Air Force Base. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I enjoy making them. I haven't had breakfast and we've already spent an hour chatting here, and I absolutely love it. Thank you, guys, and thank you for all of your support on Patreon. Another plug. All right, guys, what is next? Oh, yeah. Well, let me, we're going to talk about Semi in a second, but let me... Clark Kent, also, man, you're just like monopolizing the chat. I'm okay with that. I've been very interested in protecting my Model 3 with paint protection and ceramic coating. Are you planning to do any segment on that? Pros, cons, different products. Well, I just addressed it maybe, what, half an hour ago. I myself did not have a great experience with OptiCoat. I spent $800, had to redo it a few times. But at the end of the day, I really don't see the difference, unfortunately. And also, I leased my cars for 3 years. So, I mean, they're pretty much, even with abusive sun here in California, they look just fine. You know, you can detail it like maybe once a year for like 40 bucks or 50 bucks. Nothing major, and the car's gonna look pretty good. But protecting it, you know, I mean, someone else said that they were trying to thinking about the film. You know, you can go film on the, but I think that the film itself will get scratched a little bit more, and at the same time it will dull up your paint. I'm sure they claim that it won't, but with today's paint being so advanced, especially on Teslas, actually, I wouldn't. You know, it also, the thing is, it's really hard to give advice when, you know, we all have different kind of goals and personal goals. Like, for example, I like my car to look great, but if there's a ding on it, like, I'm not gonna really freak out about it. Like, you know, I have a video here about how to cover up dents, right? And I have a little scratch on a trunk of my car, and you know what? You know what I used to cover it up? I didn't go immediately to the body shop and had it all repainted and rebuffed. I took a nail polish, which actually has a very similar ingredients as the touch-up paint, and I painted it right over, and I forgot about it. So I'm not as protective of my car. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to look good. So I may not even be the right person to ask about that. But if you want to protect every single inch of your car, then yeah, of course, you know, this is just for your own sanity sometimes, right? You just want to know your car is protected, and if that's the goal, then you should. But I will try to do a segment on it. I've been reaching out to some of the local body shops and shops that like wrap cars and do the show about that, but I haven't had any success yet because I really only want to do a segment that will really make sense for you guys. But I am working on that. Thank you for mentioning that. Mitchell in a chat room says, what makes the interior luxurious? You know, I think it's a combination of two things. Obviously, it's a comfort, just physical comfort, the comfy seats. But also, I think it's a lot about visual, right? What does it look like? I mean, I believe a lot of Mercedes, or, you know, just take a Lucid Air. Again, we're back on Lucid Air. If you take their interior, sorry, I don't have interior picture, just an exterior. It just looks luxurious. It's kind of comfy. It looks like it's comfy, right? It's not just comfy, it looks like it's comfy. And the features that you know they provide are for comfort, you know. 12, 18-way seats, you know, heated seats, but also cooling seats, which I don't think is available in Tesla, or at least my model didn't have it available in 2015, right? That's a comfort package. Sometimes massagers are built into the driver's seats and sometimes on the back as well, right? So just all of those things considered to be a luxury. And again, I think it's about visual perception, but also just a physical perception. I also think different people might think of it differently. So this is just my personal opinion. Just want to mention that. Love Tesla says, Jasper Cool King, I saw a Model S today. Congratulations, but it depends on where you live. If it was in Palo Alto, it's not that big of a deal, but if it was maybe in Argentina, say that I would be impressed. Just Watching has a good question. He says, or she says, do you guys see an improvement in the autopilot development? As far as I see it, there are just small improvements, far away from full level 5 autonomy. Well, this is where I criticize Tesla. And, you know, I know a lot of you guys just don't like when I say anything negative about Tesla, but guys, it's my job to be realistic, okay? Let's talk about autopilot here. The current autopilot 2.5 version, you know, you're saying, what'd you say about far away from full level 5 autonomy? Well, I'll tell you, it's actually still pretty far away from its first version that I have in my 2015 Tesla, which is Autopilot 1.0. I know it sounds crazy, especially if you're just coming into the world of electric cars and Tesla, but yes, 2 years later, Autopilot 2.5 software is still not better than Autopilot 1.0. Now, the story behind it is this. Originally, Tesla contracted Mobileye, which is an Israeli company that created the hardware and the software for the Autopilot, and that's what Tesla went with. Unfortunately, they had a bit of a breakup. And I think it was already started when when Mobileye realized Tesla might have been developing their own technology, but I think they broke up in a very ugly divorce, is what I'm saying. And Tesla said, you know what, we're going to create our own. We've already been doing it anyway. And we're going to go with it. And they've released the hardware that they've claimed that is good enough for the autonomous driving. Level 5 is just for the software, it needs to catch up. They did release a bigger hard drive, I believe, or at least a bigger computer in 2.5 version, though they claim that 2.0 should still be good. And if at one point it's not, they will upgrade it for free. So that's good. But people realized that when they were buying those 2.0, 2.5 cars, the autopilot just didn't have even some basic 1.0 features. They've been catching up. They're pretty close. I think it's like 95%. But so far, they're not there yet. So they're not really there with what they had from Mobileye in their own cars 2 years ago. And that's a problem. Now, we've talked about, obviously, Cruise, a company, the self-driving technology company that was bought by Chevy and Chevy Bolt right now. They're really trying to incorporate it in Chevy Bolt. But the company that really passed them is Waymo. They actually already launched a pilot program in, I believe, in Arizona, where these vans like this one, this is a picture that I took right here down the street, but this is the type of van that are driving around literally without the drivers in the seat. Now there's still an employee there in a van, but these vans are now driving people around in a specific area in Arizona. So they kind of beat Tesla to the punch, and actually that is autonomous level 5 driving. So I'm assuming that Tesla has been working on this hard, and I think a lot of us expected some sort of announcement at the SEMA event. We were not disappointed with the announcement they made anyway about the Roadster and many other things, but it's definitely something that Tesla is lagging, and I think they're losing that competition with other companies, but I am assuming they're working on it. Steve Ryder with the super chat. Steve, thank you so much. It says, thanks, Alex, for your dedication and contribution. Well, Steve, thank you. I mean, this helps. This goes a long way. If you go to my Patreon page, there's a video, introduction video, about what happens when you guys contribute your money to me. It does cost me about $1,000 out of my pocket to produce this channel, simply because of all these feeds that add up. Like, for example, my Vegas trip, to cover the 4 days of computer electronics show for you guys. You know, hotels and flight and meals are going to be expensive because it's the biggest show in town. I just did a travel to LA for the semi-truck unveiling, and as you've seen a lot of videos. I just upgraded my equipment for this live shows. You can see the picture and sound gotten better. That's because I got more video equipment, more audio equipment, and a lot of hardware that I didn't want to bore you with. So a lot of this money goes, actually all of this money goes to that. So I'm trying to break even. Probably not going to happen for a while, but thank you so much for your contribution. If you guys are interested in contributing, just like he did, I thank you very much for it. You can go to Patreon, you can contribute there. It's $15 if you want to see the exclusive footage, but you can contribute $1, $2, $3 if you so please. I can guarantee you I will give you a hug next time I see you. So that's a benefit I can guarantee. But yeah, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the love, guys. I mean, this is the best part of my day, to sit here and talk to you guys about electric cars, something that we all like or love in my case. And there's, besides spending time with my girlfriend, I gotta tell you, this is the best part of my day. And this is why when I have a chance on Sundays is where I have a lot of time without having breakfast, okay, I did brush my teeth for you guys. You're welcome. But I run to the computer, I get all my slides and videos all prepared, and I stream for you guys on YouTube and Facebook. So absolutely love doing it. Thank you guys for being part of this community. And this is what I really wanted to create here, because I will bring you the news and I can do analysis just because I'm staying up to date with everything. But it is you guys who are steering the conversation, who are contributing not just questions but comments. Some of you contributing videos, some of you sending me articles to read and cover, or just educate myself a little bit more when you comment in the chat or when you're watching the replay in the comment section. I thank you for that. And some of you just flat out correct me, and I have to go back and say, you know what, I did not know that. I stand corrected and this is the right information. Some of them, of course, not the nicest comments, so that's okay. The other day I was criticized by the shirt that I'm wearing, even though I wear shirts that I really like, but all right, fair enough. Sometimes my hair gets criticized, but that's fine. I can take it. So yeah, but I am trying to wear my good watches because a few people are always checking on my watches that I try to wear. I have a little watch collection. The only rule about my watch collection, no watches over $100. They have to be nice watches, good looking watches, but they have to match my outfit. But they cannot be some crazy Rolex or Movada diamond watches, and it has to be about the style, not about the money I spent on it. Let's see. I'm so behind on your messages. Let's see. Love Tesla, saw Model S today. Donovan is clarifying, sorry for what I meant was the sales of BMW, Mercedes, and Audi sales are falling, and that's why they have no choice but to start making electric cars. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people a lot of companies have to take it seriously because they see Tesla's beating them in those smaller markets like luxury car markets, and they know once they enter these other markets, they will win if they don't do anything, because BMWs, they're really good at selling BMW 3 Series, right? That's a very popular BMW. A lot of people can afford it. A lot of people can afford used ones. They're out there. They're considered to be a cool car. It's a BMW, but guess what? Now Model 3, and I made a video about this. People think Model 3 is going to be competing with Chevy Bolt or Nissan Leaf, or I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be competing with those cars because those are compact hatchback cars. Model 3 is going to compete with the BMW 3 Series. Model 3 is going to compete with the electric, with the gas cars, and that's just how it's going to be, because this is not so much about the price or technology, it's about the targeted audience. In the audience that's interested in Model 3 are the people who are driving or thinking about driving a BMW 3 Series or Audio A4, a Mercedes C-Class. So yeah, of course they're all freaked out, because, and this is why I'm calling this a revolution, because once Model 3 are being sold, which is pretty much next week, to the public, and they start, taking over the world, well, they will take the BMWs and Mercedes sales in that category, just like they just did with the luxury car like Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series. So BMW and Mercedes know what's coming, and they know they have to compete. I don't think they're doing a great job just yet, but they've been dragged off of their butts and into this new universe, and that's what's happening. Just watching says Waymo uses LiDAR, which is true. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I believe one is more expensive than the other, but I'm just saying that Tesla is all set on their technology. They've committed to it, and I don't see them changing it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Technocato says, does anyone know how many cars were reserved on March 31st? Any guesses where deliveries are in that queue? Thanks again. I forget. I think it was like, I don't want to lie. I think it was like 200,000, but I know that I reserved one at the 3rd hour, and I was doing it at a Fremont factory location. So I got there faster than some people who kind of camped overnight in like more popular locations like Sunnyvale and Palo Alto here. And I just got my email 2 days ago to configure. I think it also depends on how many of them they're making right now, which we don't know, and how many people are opting out like myself, waiting for the right time to buy it, because I don't want to buy it right now because my leases are still I'm in the middle of my current leases. And also about the it's about the how much are they making, and how much people want to spend. And I think a lot of people, when they put their $1,000 down for this car, this was for the $35,000 car, not the $49,000 car that they're selling right now. So we don't know the pace, but it can get to you faster than you think, as long as you're willing to contribute to a higher price, sticker price. Now, I'm thinking about it. When I bought my Model S, I reserved it like a year into the reservations being open. So I was not in the beginning of the queue at all. But because I was willing to configure it at the top of the line almost level, at that time it was what, 85, what was it, air suspension and all, premium package, I got my car the very first year, even though so first 3,000 cars that were made, I was able to squeeze in. So your willingness to get in front of everybody by paying for the most expensive option it could be what will get you this. Let's see. I just saw another super chat. Tesla P85D. Thank you for your super chat. You said nothing, but I know you've been a very big contributor here in the chat room and also in the comment section. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think you're also Patreon already, so I think this is on top. I don't know how much this is in American dollars, so I'm gonna have to figure it out. Man, I'm sorry. Is there a conversion? No, there's no conversion. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me how much it is American dollars. But either way, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much for contributing at the Patreon. Since you brought it up, let me once again mention that my Patreon page is up. You can contribute to the show that way, but also you get some exclusive footage, behind the scenes footage, and as I've been kind of showing you guys this drone footage that I'm featuring right now on my Patreon page. It all goes really nice and smoothly, and I got some really cool footage of the supercharger. But after that, my drone, unfortunately, I ran it into the damn tree, and it fell, barely missing one of those nice panels, and boom! The rest you're gonna see it on my Patreon page. So thank you so much, guys, for contributing. I really hope I'm also contributing back at the Patreon page to give something back for you guys to either the information that you want to see what's happening behind the scenes of the show, but also, just like I said, the Lucid Motors headquarters segment that I did. That's just good stuff. That's just good gossip and scoop that I thought I got. Mr. Kariko just did a okay, so it was in Norwegian krones, which is $12. Thank you so much. That's a lot of money for me, at least. Just like I said, producing this show is not cheap. So thank you so much for your contribution. Tesla P85D. Clark Kent. Oh, you guys talking to each other. Tony says, go big or go home. Ha, P85D. All right. Tony is one of the Patreons, Tony. I always appreciate it. And Tony is one of the contributors of some of the content that you guys see. Sometimes, you know, the story that I just didn't really want to cover as much about this crazy Daimler story. I think Tony was one of the people who kind of said, Alex, gotta talk about it. I was like, all right, okay, you're right. All right, I think there's something I did not cover yet, and I believe it's a semi-truck. Let me see where it's on my list. Yes, semi-truck orders, guys. You know, while we're talking about Model 3, obviously semi-truck and the Roadster is something we're kind of forgetting about, but it is still going to be part of a revolution, because taking over the trucking industry, taking over the racing industry, and just overall, it looks like there's a breakthrough in battery technology. It's part of this whole revolution. Now, this week, Tesla got two major orders. At least at this point, they're one of the biggest. As you can see, these trucks are going to be used to bring you guys some Budweiser beer, because Budweiser's parent company, outside, I can never pronounce it, something Bush, they've committed to purchasing 40 of those trucks. And then also a day later, Cisco, SYSCO, it's not the networking company, as a lot of you nerds, us nerds know. It is actually a food delivering company. Well, food company, they cater to restaurants and companies in the food industry. So they ordered 50 of those. So that's, I'm wondering why. I'm wondering why it took them a couple of weeks, right? What happened between the unveiling and now when they committed to those orders? So I don't know, and I'm assuming that those companies were involved, or at least Tesla reached out to them to get their 2 cents and to get their contribution in developing and designing the truck. So I don't know if they already committed to it. They just wanted to, sometimes, you know, and this is speculation, but I'm just saying sometimes a company will ask their partner company or future investor or future buyer to wait with the news, because they want to have their major news happening, and then they want to kind of keep it going by having, you know, other smaller good news, like in this case, it's the bigger orders, kind of pace themselves over time so the excitement keeps going. Now, the Walmart came out the next day, said that they ordered, I think, 15 trucks, but these orders are growing. Now, let's also not forget that, for example, Cisco operates like 7,000 plus of their own trucks plus contractors, right? Budweiser is operating thousands of trucks on their own. So when we're talking about 40 or 50 trucks, even though the 150 to 100,000 each, that's a good investment. But in the grand scheme of things, it is obvious that this is just a test run. They're going to test it out, see how it works. And if it works for them, then I'm sure the orders will pour in and they'll be able to maybe replace their entire fleets, depending on what's going to happen. But this is definitely good news for Tesla. This is a validation for their hard work. I have to, full disclosure, I've always kind of criticized them for, developing the Semi as awesome as it came out, and getting on the way of maybe Model 3 production or Model Y production, or just maybe expanding something or new technology in autopilot. I know it's not always the same people who work on semis as the same as work on power packs or Model 3, but at the same time, there's still a lot of logistical, a lot of managerial time that is something that could be spent on others. Like, listen, I'm glad this is here. I'm glad this is a good publicity for them. But I wonder, what if? Would we have a Model Y sooner if we didn't have the Semi and the Roadster? And I know we're all excited about the Roadster, guys. I am. It's great technology. It's a great showcasing technology, but I'm not going to be getting one. I don't know how many of you can afford it, $250,000 car. And, this is not for most of us, and neither is a Semi, but Model Y would be. Model 3 definitely is. So my job is to bring up all the counterpoints, and this is one of them. So you guys love having your way with me in the comment section because of that, just because I have not praised Tesla for the entire 2 hours today, but it's my job to kind of be objective. Let's see. My girlfriend says, wow, I don't know, it's probably my hair, but probably it's the super chat, most likely, that P85D submitted, and so did Steve Ryder. Also, those 2 super chats today. Let's see. Trucks the best, says Robson Gomes in the chat room. Reiner Stone Cowboy says, they just had to think about it for a while before ordering that new fangled electric Semi. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it. But it's a little odd. I'm more willing to buy the fact that they just had to wait because Tesla asked them to, or maybe they were finalizing paperwork or numbers or whatever. So we don't know. Also, Ryan Store Cowboy says, Elon's not going to be able to keep up with all the orders of Model 3, Semi, or Roadster. Hope they get production line problems all sorted out. It looks like production for Model 3, at least right now, is either already sorted out or is very close to being sorted out. So that's good. And I think this is why they've opened it up to the public, because they're very confident they can now start making a lot of them. So I think we're good there. And obviously production for the Roadster or the Semi is not going to start until 2020, I believe. All right, got to get hydrated, guys. Tom Dean, this is the first time I see you post in the chat room, so welcome. He says, I watched several Tesla YouTubers. I have to say, I like your content and delivery the best. Oh, I didn't know it was a compliment. I really... Ben at Teslanomics would be a close second. Keep up the great content. Thanks. I met Ben at the event, just like I think I met pretty much all the YouTubers instead of Nikki. I'm looking forward to meeting Nikki from the Transport Evolved at the CES. But I think she's the only YouTuber that I haven't met yet in person. Ben was very nice to me, I have to say. Very nice guy in person. But I appreciate it because he is a huge YouTuber in the space. So I appreciate even being in the same sort of category because I'm still up and coming YouTuber. So I will definitely take the compliment. Thank you. Nigel says, question, how many trucks have been publicized as ordered? I believe it's about 200 now. But as I mentioned before, guys, and again, I don't want to blow anyone's covers, so I'm not going to say anything beyond this. But when I talked to some of the people from the trucking industry and I got their business cards and they said that, yes, we ordered 10 or 15 or whatever, I came in home with my business cards and I didn't see those companies on the list, and I still don't. So I think there are companies that are willing to publicize it and some companies are not willing to publicize it. So I think their orders are, and again, it was open bar, right? They could just be saying something they shouldn't be saying to me, or they were saying something that never really happened. you know? So I don't know. Either way, I'm not going to mention them anyway, because I do sometimes get information that not everybody should know. And if I believe that it's something that may be damaging to some of the companies, I keep it to myself until it's public. But just so you know, I think there are more orders out there than we think. But officially, to answer it, I think it's like 200 something at this point, which, by the way, transfers into like a lot of money when you're selling them at, you know, $150, $1,000 a piece. It definitely adds up. Rimac versus Tesla, good speed. Yeah, guys, they've been excited about this. I probably should do a video about it. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. But you guys let me know in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching this replay. Should I do a video about the Rimac car? What do you think about MKBHD? This is one of the huge YouTubers. I don't really have a problem with him per se, but I did have a problem when they did Lovejoy, Project Lovejoy. Project Love Day. This is, if you remember, back in beginning of this year, Tesla was running a competition for, you know, people submitting the commercials, potential commercial for Tesla, and I submitted mine. It's still on my channel if you want to check it out. I didn't make it to the top 10 finalists, so I really don't have a pony in this race. But when they announced 10 finalists, he was one of them, and the way they were going to pick the winners is by having everybody vote on Twitter. Well, most of these people who submitted, they were, you know, and I have Sonia, I think she got placed third. I had her on my channel. You can also search for that video. She was I think I got the only time she interviewed was with me, so you can see it. But she had no subscribers. She had no social media following, and a lot of finalists did not, top 10 finalists. But that guy, he had 5 million subscribers at that time, and guess what? Guess who won the competition? Not to say that his video wasn't good. I liked his video, but I didn't like the fact that really anybody else didn't stand a chance. He could have had a crappy video and still win. So I was just saying that, listen, if the rules could have been better. The rules, I feel like if you want to give an equal chance for everybody, and it's social media voting, you are not going to be able to pick a true winner, because whoever's got the bigger following will win, and that's what happened. I also have to say, when I tweeted it at Elon Musk, and for some reason he replied, when I tweeted it at him, his reply was that he believes that it's okay because the correct video won. Which only makes me feel worse about it, because, like, well, wait a second. I thought this was a voting system, and it's not like, well, let's vote, but then we'll check with Elon and see what he likes. I thought it's like, hey, whichever gets more votes gets to win. So I didn't really like his reply. So the whole thing left a really bad taste in my mouth. I know that other finalists feel very closely, even though they wouldn't say it, but I can tell you that's true in some. And why wouldn't they? But I like that guy's content. I just wish he would have been a little bit more humble about it, and maybe admit that his humongous following has helped them win the competition, that the rest really had no chance of winning. Because there were some really good commercials there, guys. There are playlists out there on YouTube if you want to check it out. There's some really good commercials that didn't even make it in the top 10. Let's see. Donovan Small confirms, yes, there's more than 200 orders, official orders for the truck, for the semi truck right now. Well, this is a reservation. No, I guess they're orders, because you do have to put like 20 grand. Genaram in the chat room says, I was thinking last night about how the 300-mile Tesla semi can also be used, converted into a tow truck, box truck, or small bus. RV, consider that you can have even more orders. And I think that's what they played with when they showed us that picture of the Tesla truck, right? It was kind of the semi front with a flat back, well, not flat back, but with a bed, like a pickup truck bed in the back. So, and I think that's not a bad idea. And obviously they don't have to do that many probably modifications. You just have to put a different stuff on the back. I'm sure it's coming, guys. I mean, they can do everything at once. They seem to try to, but they can't. So I think that's very reasonable, everything that you just mentioned. Clark Ken in the chat says we need to get Alex a Roadster. To be honest with you, there's only like 3 weeks left until this referral program is over. As you know, I don't push my Tesla referral code, not here and not in my Facebook groups, even though I have like over 20,000 members there. I find it, I don't want to say it. I didn't. I only pushed it for, I think, 1 month because I wanted to get to 5 referrals so I can go to the Tesla truck event and cover it for you guys. So that's the only reason I ever even promoted it. But once I got it, I stopped promoting it. It's really nice that Ben and I think a couple of others will be getting their free Roadsters. I mean, they're probably not going to be free. They have to pay taxes on it and so forth. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be pushing that as hard as they did. And I also not really sure if some of them did it ethically, correctly. You know, like I from what I understand, some of them collected personal information in exchange for the code. So I don't want to really. I'm okay. I will not have a free Roadster and I won't buy a Roadster. So I appreciate the encouragement, but it's okay. I'm sure Ben will make a nice video about it and we'll all get a kick out of it. So I think that will be just fine. Technoketo says Roadster sample missing wipers. Sketch with wipers did not look good. The best design I wish they had is the one in the Ford Fusion, which wipe from both sides on the car instead of from the center. Well, obviously that was an alpha prototype of the Roadster. And, you know, I'm sure they will work on the wiper technology. They have 2 years. I'm sure they'll get it right. I'm sure that they needs to be useful, but it also needs to look good. So I think that's fine. Tony in the chat room says video chatting capabilities with live events would be cool. I agree with that. That would be kind of cool if they Tesla and other makers would do that. Varun says Nikki is also great EV news. Yes, I myself watch her every time. I like her a lot, and I'm excited to meet her at the CES. Hey guys, did I cover all the news so far? I think I did, right? We talked about Missouri law, we talked about semi-orders, BMW charging, California ban, we talked about the Model 3. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of news this week, but also it's really been dominated by Model 3, which is probably going to continue for the next week or two, as we're now going to be talking probably to people getting their orders, experiencing the car for themselves, new software updates, more VIN numbers coming out. So I don't see this ending. I think every other video, just like it was this week, for me, will probably have Model 3 in the title. Nigel says the mega chargers seem a bit difficult to organize. Is the infrastructure available, or is it all going to be Tesla/solar? It's definitely something they're going to have to do from scratch. Maybe some of the we're still kind of, we don't know if they're just going to create it for trucks only, or they're going to create it for trucks only first and then for the rest of us, or they're going to roll it out for the rest of us. But don't forget, mega chargers require completely new technology inside of the Tesla cars and a new plug. So they would have to start producing the new cars with either dual or, you know, or just the new plug. So so the mega chargers can charge the new cars. I don't know how they're going to do that conversion, and I don't know if it's even going to be available, because hey, if they master the technology of charging the regular Teslas just as fast using the current connector, then there is no reason. I guess there's just going to be two different standards, one for regular cars, another one for industry cars like trucks and so forth, whatever else they're going to come up with. Roman ZZ in the chat room says Rimac is out of the realm of passability for majority of us, just like the Roadster. Really, I know Rimac costs much more, but I see so many chatter about it. I still like, yeah, I don't think it's newsworthy per se, but because so many people are talking about it, I'm thinking like, should I mention that? So let me know. Let's see. Let's see. My girlfriend has been asked some questions and she's answering them. Okay. She's got to get her own show. I know all of you guys would rather see her in front of a camera, but I know more. I know more. Maybe we can do one of those, like when, you know, like she'll be in front of a camera, but I'll be like, my voice will be like behind the camera. Maybe we can do that. Let's see. Where am I in here? Well, Jake Robert Ritis says Roadster free will get excited. Yeah, I will get excited about it if I'm going to get it for free, I guess. But I'm not a Roadster kind of guy. I like four-door sedans, and that's what I will probably stick to driving. Like, I love Model X, but I don't like. Me and my girlfriend were talking about it the other day, and I think we just gonna stick with the Model S for now as far as our main together car. Let's see. Well, you guys just flat out discussing me with my girlfriend. All right, you guys have a right at it. Ron Stanley in the chat room says commercial real estate developers should install EV charging options for those who can charge at home. Commercial sites already have three-phase electricity, which would minimize the cost of developers. Ron, that's a great point. As a matter of fact, not only there's a Facebook group dedicated specifically for people who want to have electric cars but live in apartments, but I have a video about what to do if you live in an apartment complex that don't provide or a condo where that doesn't have a possibility of charging. Now, I live in an apartment complex and it's seriously like the only one, at least here in the Bay Area that I know of, that has chargers. Not just any chargers, dedicated Tesla chargers. So very, very lucky. But we were thinking about moving earlier this year and I started researching other apartment complexes. And mind you, here in Silicon Valley, every single block has a brand new apartment complex, right? Just built or being finished. Like people get into those apartment complexes as one end of it being finished and another one is still being worked on. So, and I gotta tell you, to my disappointment, even though this is Silicon Valley, Tesla land really, and these are brand new apartment complexes, none of them have the even like charging stations at all, and those who have it have like 2 or 3, and it's first come first serve. As you know, that doesn't really work for those people who want to make sure they can get to work in the morning with a full charge. So it blows my mind that we're still not here as far as infrastructure at the places of where you live. A lot of campuses, like company campuses, do have chargers, but there's usually a line there for charging because it's not obviously just for Tesla. It's for, there's a lot of Nissan Leafs and Bolts and Volts and so forth. There's always a line. Which brings it to something I forgot to mention about the Semi, since the picture is still up, is that I think where they're going to be building those mega chargers are not just in the middle. I mean, they will probably build them in the middle of major routes, but I think the best way to do it and probably most efficient and what will work for these companies is to install the mega chargers at the distribution centers, right? That's where the trucks spend most of their time being loaded and unloaded. While they're being unloaded or loaded, they can charge on the spot, so they lose no time whatsoever charging. Because remember, if you're going to charge in the middle of your trip, you have to wait. Yes, it's by law you have to take a break, you have to have, you got to go use a bathroom, you got to get something to eat, but that's still going to be on the time of where the supercharger or mega chargers are. But if you charge your truck while it's being used, really, while it's being loaded and unloaded, I think that would be the best use of their time. And they will be able to control the electricity, the location, the parking, and so forth. And I think that would probably be the right solution. Varun says, can you link to the apartment chargers video? Right now I'm just doing it live. I'll probably try to do it once I repost this video. But if you go to the homepage of my channel, click the search icon, and I think if you just either enter charging, I forget what the video is called, you will be able to find it, and it's the video about where you would need to charge, where to charge if you don't live in your own place. Tony says, Alex, the Model S is a beautiful car. I'm in love with it. I agree with you, man. I fell in love with it the first time I saw it. I put my down payment within 5 minutes, even though they weren't even making it, and everybody thought I was an idiot for doing that. And I still am in love with it as well. I'm 50-50 on the front end. Let me know in the chat, Tony or anybody else, which one you guys prefer. I like both looks, but I'm okay with the refreshed look as well. I know that's both of my cars 2015, so that they have the old look, but I dig it a lot. One of our cars is black, so it's a black cone on the black car, so you can't really notice it. It's kind of looks like the refreshed car anyway. The other one is white, and the black cone nose actually gives it a better look, because we also have a black panoramic roof. So that's a pretty good combination, I thought, where the new look just has white on the front, right? Tony in the chat room says, Alex, properties in Tesla land. Tesla land. I like that, by the way, he says. Without electric charging abilities is shocking. I'm telling you, man, I am really shocked by it, because I thought for very easily I will be able to find a place to, just going to put a different picture for you guys, a place to live where I'll have my own dedicated charger. And But okay, so I have to say that when I talk to the apartment managers, they're filling up this places so fast, right? Everybody's willing to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a 2-bedroom here. I know it's crazy, guys. I know it's crazy. I know, but you know that's what the prices are here, and that they don't really need to do anything extra for their tenants. Why install this expensive charging stations, even worry about it, when the people without electric cars will pay them the same money? So I kind of understand it from that perspective, but I'm still a little bit surprised that they're not thinking about the future, because, you know, another 5 years, maybe when things won't be as good for them as apartment complexes, maybe, you know, the rental industry will go down as it usually goes up and down. They will not be able to compete. So, but I agree, it's really shocking. I don't quite get it. Nigel in the chat room says the Model X, S, and 3 are actually large vehicles in Europe. Most will want a Tesla the size of the Leaf and the Bolt. That is true. You know, Europe is a compact place. People like compact cars, so I can see why Renault Zoe has done very well there. It's a very small car. I see why Mini does well there, and I see why Chevy Bolt and Nissan Leaf do well there, because, you know, if you've ever been in Europe, you'll know that you have like this much space to park, right? As a matter of fact, it's pretty common in Europe in some places where you literally squeeze it into a place by moving the other cars, you know, with your bumpers back and forth, something you would not want to do with your Tesla. And Tesla, even the Model 3, is a large car in Europe. So that's a good point. That is absolutely a great point. Let's see. From St. Louis, Craig Longo, welcome to the chat. Okay, so Craig is saying, I'm from St. Louis, getting blue and premium long-range battery, 19-inch sport wheels, EAP and FSD. Estimated delivery December, February 18. So I'm assuming you're a current Tesla owner. So that means that pretty much now? I mean, are you saying it's December 18th, February 19th, or December 17th, February 18th? So if this is the latter, meaning like it's right now, then I think you might be getting that email within the next few weeks. You just, yeah, and if you won the long-range battery, I think you're good to go, man. Congratulations. Let us know when you get it. As a matter of fact, guys, when you're getting your cars, you're getting Model 3s, I would love for you to contribute one of the videos like I started to feature on the channel. Just videotape your impression, your review, and we'll put it up here on my channel. Ron Stanley says that another good place for charging is at parks and park and ride lots. That is correct. There are a lot of good places, but as they say, no better place than home. No place like home, right? You want to come in, park your car, plug it in, and not worry about it, and come in the morning with a full charge. That's the way to go. Let's see. Nigel in the chat room says, look, I think you're missing a letter there, so I got lost. Look, at front, good, but in Europe, All right, I'm going to skip this one because even I don't understand it. Donovan says in France, it's known about pushing cars because of space. Donovan, actually, that's where I saw it when I visited France. I was in Paris, God, 27 years ago, and everybody said, yeah, guys, that's because I saw it as a little boy, and I was like, whoa, that car's hitting the other car. Like, no, that's perfectly normal. So yeah, and I think in other countries it's pretty normal as well, and that's why the expensive cars are tough to have. That they're big, and scratching them and having their bumpers damaged is tough. Okay, Craig says he's not a Tesla owner. So Craig, maybe clarify. Are you saying that your configurator says you can configure the car from this December to February of next year? Because that doesn't sound right. Because you're not in California, you're not a Tesla owner. So I would assume it's going to be much later in the year, but shouldn't be as late as December. So that's a little weird. That's a bit weird. And don't forget, let me just give you my example with my Model S. I'm one of the first Model S owners, the first 3,000 made. So when I got on the waiting list, that was a year into that waiting list being around, and only half a year until they started producing them. And nevertheless, because I was willing to get the top of the line model, because I really wanted it, I was able to get in the first 3,000. And that's what may happen with this case, where a lot of people in California and Tesla owners will pass on the $49,000 base car, 49,000 sticker price, and it will move really quickly throughout the whole list. And people, you know, in your scenario, which is not a Tesla owner and not in California, but in the United States, you might be able to get a shot at it sooner rather than you think. I would be surprised if it's in the next 3 months even. Let's see. Yeah, guys, so the news this week have been absolutely amazing. I have to say, I'm looking forward to the next week. I wanted to kind of warn you that there's going to be a lot of Model 3 news, but there's a few other news that I wanted to cover because they're also important. And you know, we're still going to be getting some news from the for the Semi and the Roadster and other cars. But don't forget, CES is where the next big chunk of news is going to come from. I'm going to be there as well. By the way, let me of course mention once again that this channel and this video is sponsored by Evanex, the Tesla accessories, aftermarket Tesla accessories. I have 2 items that I've just got myself. I already taped the video, so I'm going to review them for you guys shortly. Also, let me remind you that I am now on Patreon. There's some exclusive footage, behind the scene footage of some cool stuff. And so thank you for those of you guys who are contributing and are getting some exclusive content there as well. Let me know if you're enjoying it. So thank you much for contributing. The link is down below. And by the way, guys, if you're watching this video and you're enjoying it, if you like this videos and this one in particular, please go ahead and click the thumbs up. That always helps the video do well when I repost it. Well, you know, by the way, it looks like I'm going to be sticking to 11 a.m. Pacific time broadcasts, unless I have like a meeting or whatever that just has to, a doctor appointment maybe, that has to be at 11 o'clock. But it looks like this time is working for everybody. I've been pretty consistent for the last week. Let me know in the chat room. Let me know in the comments when you're watching in the replay if that works for you guys. 11 a.m. Pacific time, it works for me. I usually start my day this way, so it's pretty cool. Now I gotta tell you, I have another about 10 days of live shows. After that, I'm gonna take a 8-day break because I am going on vacation to Mexico. I will have what I'm going to call them e-words. So every day, I'm going to pre-tape this, but I'll publish it every day still. Even though it's not going to be live, it's still going to be in this type of format, just no chat, unfortunately. But I'm going to have e-words. And you guys, I'm more than welcome to recommend the categories. I'm going to have Autopilot of the Year, Surprise of the Year, New Car of the Year. Let me know what other categories you think I should have. I'm going to have nominees, and we're going to do a kind of a fun exercise for the e-words of the year. And after that, I'll be back, I believe, on the 30th or 31st, back with live shows. And once I'm at CES in the second week of January, I will stream a couple times a day, probably from there, so you guys can be right there with me experiencing this amazing technology that's going to be unveiled in front of our eyes. All of the new technology as I'm going to be going through the media days and the first 2 days of the CES. Mark in the chat room says, I'm not a Tesla owner, and it says I can configure to expect to configure in March 2018. Yeah, that actually sounds about right. Your location matters too a little bit, but I think that's about right. Crest says, I was a day 1 reservation holder, not an employee, but my page says December 17th through February 18th. That's sort of in a chunk that I'm in, so depending where you're at, Greg, you should be getting it shortly. It depends on how many of they're making and how many people are passing on the current $49,000 version. Donovan says, Merry Christmas, Alex. If I miss you next live feed. Donovan, I'm doing them every day, so you'll have at least 10 more chances, but thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you as well. I'll be celebrating it in Mexico. I will probably bring some footage there because I want to see what people do think about electric cars and if I see any, because I'll be visiting, like, you know, cities where a lot of Americans live, like Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, Ensenada. So I'm going to see if I find 1 or 2, but I definitely want to talk to some locals and also Americans or Europeans who live there, either permanently or part-time, and see what they think and why they do or don't want electric cars there in Mexico, which I think is going to be interesting. Definitely, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to just relaxing on the cruise ship. I love cruise ships, guys. I'm a little scared of flying, so every time I have to fly to do the reports, that's not always the best way for me to travel. But the cruise ship is so amazing. It's really cheap compared to any other type of traveling. So I will definitely be bringing some of the behind the scenes Alex relaxing footage for those who contribute on Patreon. Piotr Kipa, hope you're pronouncing your name right, says, hi Alex, I'm typing from Manchester, United Kingdom. Welcome. What is happening with your green Tesla calendar? You know, that calendar kind of stalled. First of all, we didn't have much greenery up until now. Here in California, the sun burns the hell out of everything. So, and here's one of the pictures from that calendar. We actually feature local fashion models with the Tesla cars in the beautiful locations, green locations in California. As you can see in this picture, even the grass has already been kind of burnt out. I have 7 or 8 installments of those videos. I think this is one of the best videos I've made. If you go to homepage of my channel, scroll all the way back, it's the strip at the end, at the bottom of it. I just don't know why people are not really that interested in those videos. I have to say 95% of my audience are men based on my analytics, statistics, and yet fashion models and Teslas and beautiful scenery does not appeal to you guys. I don't know why, so I kind of slowed down on that, but there's a bunch of videos are still there. Those videos in a calendar I was going to produce was to benefit Earth Justice, as you know, one of the biggest environmental protection organizations here in the United States and I think in Canada. If you want to go and watch those videos, the link to where you can contribute directly to them is still there. It's always a good cause. It's just basically a bunch of lawyers fighting on behalf of the environment in a courtroom where actually most battles are won on behalf of the environment. So Rhinestone Cowboy says, hey, the grass is all white here. Be happy. Listen, I was just talking just the other day. I was talking to somebody. I was out enjoying my evening at the lounge. Some guy I was washing hands next to in the bathroom, you know, we started chatting and he was like, you know, I was like, hey, we're having a great weather. And by the way, here it's about 10 degrees Celsius, so about what, 50 to 60 Fahrenheit. And I was like, nice weather we're having. And he's like, oh, dude, it's really cold. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, I'm from Russia, and in Russia right now, it's really cold. I'm talking about minus 20, dude. So yeah, I know it's all relative, right? Let's see, Cinema Writer back in the chat room. I haven't seen you in a while, man. How have you been? He's also in Manchester, UK. Bye from freezing Ireland, says Nigel. Minus 5 degrees Celsius there. So that's what, plus 20 in Fahrenheit. Frosty Flakes says rental prices are starting to collapse in some markets. I'm assuming you're talking about the real estate market. Unfortunately, Silicon Valley is a bubble, so we don't know when that's going to burst. Though we have some new laws about H-1 visas being more limited now, and so a lot of software engineers come from India and other countries, Russia and so forth. So that's going to be limited. It looks like it. So that might decrease the population here in the Bay Area, and hopefully rent prices will go down as well, and hopefully the apartment complexes will start installing the damn chargers. Blistering 29 degrees Fahrenheit here. Okay, that's the minus 9 forecast tomorrow morning, says Nigel. Check Bjorn's latest Norway has slow. Cinema Writer is referring to Bjorn's channel. No, guys, I'm not complaining. I love it. It's 10 degrees. Once I'm done here, I will have my breakfast, and then we're actually going to go to Santa Cruz here in California. It's a beautiful location. It's going to be a hella cold in there, but we have blue skies, so we'll still enjoy it. All right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging out with me. Don't forget, tomorrow is another day, 11 a.m. Pacific time. As always, I'm going to be streaming live. I'm sure there will be more news. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the Patreon contributions. Hopefully you guys can browse there afterwards and check out my videos. Thank you for all the comments during the live chat. And I know there will be a lot of them coming up in a replay. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I once had a great time hanging out with you. I think, guys, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. So I will see you guys next time. That's it for me. Of course, remember to stay charged.